Hello, everyone. I've been away for a while, but not because I gave up on this Patreon. This momentary stop started in the last trimester of 2025 when I got the opportunity to work on an amazing project. I can't speak about it yet due to an NDA, which is really unfortunate because I'm crazy to tell everybody about it. But it was something I was super excited to work on. It was a dream come true, and the time I had to work on my personal projects was used to work on that one. I still have my graphic design job, and I could not take time from that for survival reasons. And I still barely have any patrons in here, so I couldn't lose this chance just to keep up with this page. The idea was that as soon as I delivered that work, I would come back to my own projects. But it ended up being a bit hard to get back on tracks. I have been creating some things, but not being able to also do the logistics parts of Patreon. And I honestly think that I needed this time to rethink a lot of things. I hadn't felt so excited about my work, personal or for clients, as I did with that project in a long time. And that made me put a lot of things in question. When I started this Patreon, I said to myself and on the page that my main focus here would be on my own art and creations, and only secondly in what could make profit or not. I said my Patreon wouldn't be a shop with subscription. And I meant it, but I failed to notice that deep down I was still operating from that exact mindset. I reduced what I wanted to do to one thing, one product, one style, focus on specialization. I mean, that's what everyone tells us to do, right? That's the path to success in the modern world, right? The main issue is that's just not who I am. Not as a person, not as an artist, not as a creative. And when I try to do that, I actually kill my creativity, my happiness, and I end up not wanting to work on my projects, which was already starting to happen again. At that point, I start putting everything I'm doing into question, and from there is a self loading down spiral that, as you can imagine, doesn't end well. And this is probably why I've always failed in the past. I was always trying to fit myself in a box that simply doesn't suit me. I only realized most of these things recently. I guess I needed to feel that passion for creating again to notice how far away from it I was. Also, these last 2 years, since my autism and ADHD late diagnosis, have been super intense internally. It has been a huge self discovery journey where I can finally see myself for what I am, not for what society demands me to be. It's realizing that a lot of the things I was criticized all my life are just plain ableism against neurodivergent traits. Understanding both my difficulties and my strengths, how my brain works and how to work with it and not against it, it's being literally life changing. Like it's really making me change my daily life. And I think I'm finally starting to understand what it also means regarding my creative path. I've been experimenting a lot with my routines, with the balance between discipline and flowing, with how I organize my time between clients' work, personal work, special interests, learning, and daily tasks to try to find a way where I'm living and creating, not barely surviving while fighting myself at every step. And it became very apparent that the specialization model that we are sold everywhere as the path to success will never work for me. I can understand why marketing wise it's more effective, why it may mean not many people will want to support my Patreon, and that the probability of financial success is lower if I don't follow it. But you know what? Destroying myself and my love for creating just to achieve a financial goal is not worth it. I do have a steady and good job and a small but nice list of clients. I could just focus on that and have way more free time and an easier life. But I'm still here, always trying to dedicate to my projects, always trying to bring to life all the ideas my mind creates, always trying to grow and evolve as an artist because deep down, that's what I am passionate about. That's what keeps me motivated and makes me want to get out of bed every day. That was always the thing that kept me from giving up on myself in my darkest times. The truth is, it's not the money I may or may not make from it that keeps me going. It's both the possibility of bringing these ideas to life and the actual artwork. The time I spend drawing, painting, writing, designing, that's what I love. That's what always gave me the strength to fight against years of mental illness. Now, let's be clear. I'm not pretending that I don't want money or that I wouldn't like that this Patreon ended up being successful, allowing me to live from my own projects and not be dependent on clients' works to survive. If it wasn't for the possibility of profit, I would just focus all my time on drawing, painting, writing, and wouldn't waste time with online presence. But we all need to survive, and I am no different. And if I can make money from my art, I will be able to have more time to it. Also, if I get a couple of Patreons, the accountability they bring can be helpful. So, what I'm trying to say is that I don't want to step so much away to where my passion and creativity lies that my personal art ends up being just another boring task that I have to do instead something I enjoy. Now, this is all very pretty when said, but what does that mean practically for this page? Well, to start, it's impossible to talk about everything in just one video, at least if I don't want to bore you to death. Also, this is an ongoing journey, one you can follow closely if you are a Patreon, and I'm still in my first steps. So for now, I will just simplify a bit the main things I realize and how they will change this Patreon moving forward. So first, I was always someone with a lot of different interests that likes to learn about a lot of different things. I'm not a specialization kind of brain. Between my autistic special interests, my ADHD, hyperfixations, and all the interests that kind of fall between the two, it's impossible for me to be happy while focusing on just one thing. If I force myself to do that, my creativity dies, my frustration skyrockets, and my demand avoidance is highly triggered. That's how I end up completely dysfunctional and feeling that I don't want to do art, which has happened a lot in the past. Secondly, I already need a very disciplined routine to keep myself functional while juggling a part time graphic design job, my personal projects, and both my mental and physical health. At least on my own art, I need to be able to flow, to do what makes me happy, excites me, and makes me feel fulfilled. My art should be where I find that freedom, not another obligation. This doesn't mean I won't have structure. I always need that or nothing gets done. But there needs to be space to flow around my interests. Third, and related to that, our ADHD brain, specifically the ADHD part of it, needs excitement and novelty to feel both motivated and energetic. So I will lean into the things that are making me feel excited in the moment, since the other motivators are urgency and anxiety. And those end up not being very healthy for me, to be honest. And fourth, my two biggest life passions are creating and learning. So maybe my art should be where I merge the two instead of keeping them as two different activities. This means that maybe my art projects can be a way to explore my hyperfixations and special interests and vice versa. But also, and more importantly, that maybe it's time for me to stop thinking that I have to be good at it, whatever that means, first and only then do projects. My project should be my art path, my growth as an artist, not something to be achieved only when I deem myself good enough, which, to be fair, I probably never will. I know this last point may seem too obvious to some of you, but I think my ADHD and conscious masking was as active in my artistic and creative self as it was in my daily and personal life. It's time for me to unmask what I can and am aware of and be my most authentic self as much as I can. Now, the big question is, what does that mean for this Patreon? And the short answer is prepare for chaos. Well, organized chaos. And I'm not even kidding. At this point, I'm not very sure what will happen or how I will make all of this work. But here are my main points. To start, I will be working on different things at the same time. Well, not literally all at once, that would be physically impossible, but dedicating to different projects in parallel. I know this might seem counterintuitive since my time is very limited, but it kind of works for me on different levels. I can flow between them and always have very different tasks to do that fit on different moods and energy levels. So I will always have something that just fits what I feel like doing that day, which prevents demand avoidance reaction, and I can even trick my demand avoidance. If I say we are going to do A and my brain goes into I refuse, I don't want to do A, I want to do D, I can go, okay, let's do D then. Because there will be a lot of letters that we can do. And believe me, this is a real trick for neurodivergent people. Sometimes this is the only way we are able to do tasks. Secondly, some of the things I'm going to dedicate to are learning exercises. I'm finding very interesting ways of transforming that learning into cool art projects, but some of them may not be that. They may just be learning practices. I will still share some of these things with you from time to time, and I will share more about this soon since I am in a high learning phase right now. And to finish, this means that this Patreon will follow an access model, not a reward model. You will still receive rewards related to each project I do as I finish works, but the main focus will be the ability to follow my journey closely. You will get different types of behind the scene posts from whips to process videos, including process videos with voiceover where I share my thoughts, like this one, and which I'll call Creative Diaries, and also some studio sneak peeks. This will basically be my online safe space where you can dive not only into my fantasy worlds, but into my own creative world too. This may also help me be able to express a lot of my thoughts, visions, crazy philosophies, and all my mind craziness, which is something I think is missing from my life. So it's a win win. I have been working along these lines for the last months, and although creating new routines is a very slow process for me and things are still kind of shaky for now, it is kind of working. I actually have a couple of things that I will slowly share here in the next month, and I'm starting some new ones too. Now, we talked about what will change, but what will keep being the same? Well, my passion for fantasy and sci fi worlds, for world building, storytelling, cartography, and maps for the whimsical is still the same. It's here since I read Lord of the Rings at 16 years old, and I can assure you it will be here forever. My projects will still revolve around this. I still want to keep working on the Haradur Village project. To that and to the learning practices I talked about, I'm adding my love for books. I spoke about one project I worked that I can't speak about yet, but I actually worked on two. The first one, which I can't talk about because it was already published, was that I was hired to make the book layout design of the latest Dreams and Machines adventure book for Modifios. And although the entire design style was already defined and my work was more technically, basically I had to create a layout for that book in the same style of the other books of that RPG, it reminded me how much I love doing layout design. A lot of my projects will be framed by a final book format about them. The Haradur Village project already had that vision for it in a sense, and I will keep it for other projects and actually build on it very strongly. This will be something you will know more as I go, but the fact is that I didn't start it as a book layout designer by chance. I love books, I love book layout, and framing my work through that lens actually increases my excitement about it. It also helps me keep a structural focus on the middle of the chaos. Because, yes, organized chaos is just what I am, if I'm being honest. And I think this is it for today. There's so much on my mind, so many ways I could explore each of the things I said today, so many ideas I want to share. But one thing at a time, I think I already dropped a lot on you today. I will slowly present to you the different projects I'm going to be focusing on, let you know about all the cool stuff I'm learning, and share a bit more about how I'm managing things, my challenges, and how I deal with them. If you are crazy enough to follow me on this journey, just get the Story Seeker tire and join the creative chaos with me. See you soon.